So Glamour the Killer back with another single, this one being Resurrection, which is the title track of their newest album. Now, their previous song, which was Fight Fire with Fire, was a heavier version of what Glamour the Killer's been known for, which is basically kind of a lot of melody. It's kind of like a poppy metal they've been known for, but recently they've been taking a more aggressive direction. And Fight Fire with Fire, or Fire Fire, something like that. The song structure was pretty basic. You basically just got heavy verses with a catchy chorus, which is quite basic of many bands. They kept saying Fight Fire with Fire over and over again, which was kind of chanting, which I find a little cringy and a bit bland when bands do that. The solo was pretty good, so it got maybe 7 or 8 around that mark from me. So going into Resurrection and it being the title, now usually when they have a track named after the album, a lot of people kind of say that's because it's the best track, it's the track that represents this new style and everything. So out the gate, it's not the same start as Fire, which started with that silly chanting. This time it just starts with a slow volume, well actually a quick volume increase, which leads into just the intro, which is just a fat sounding intro. It's got a lot of gain to it. It's not sharp, it's not really piercing, it's not bright, it's a fairly thick tone that they've got going. There's no unique tone to it at all, it's just a very kind of thick, typical metal sound that leads into the verse. Now the verse is pretty similar to Firefight, with the lead singer doing that kind of yelling shout delivery that he is now recently doing. So his vocal delivery is exactly the same, and then the sound is quite similar to what they've been doing recently, which is just a very thick, typical metal sound, with the typical intro, typical kind of verse, just basically power chords and things. There's no unique leads. The voice is just kind of yelling, aggressive tone that he's doing. The chorus again basically is copying Firefight, with their following in line with. It's a very catchy musical chorus. It sounds pretty nice, it's very catchy, it's very pleasing. His singing style goes to what he's been known for, which is the kind of light tone and quite bright tone to the voice, because he doesn't actually sound like he has much aggression in his voice, which is why I think he's now yelling, because he doesn't have that deep aggressive voice. It's quite a bright high voice he has. But the chorus, as you may be able to hear right here, is the typical Glamour of the Kill chorus of being very kind of bright, very kind of catchy. And then the verses are what they're now doing to be more kind of heavy metal and heavier. But now they're just following a formula, which is a bad trap to fall into when you're trying to change it up, but then the change is just formulaic, so it's not really changing. You used to just be pop and pop metal and very kind of upbeat and bright and cheerful and everything in sound, and yes, you've now incorporated a more heavy tone into your music, but now everything's following the same pattern. You've got a very kind of bland intro and verse, which is kind of thick chords and everything from the band, and then just yelling vocal delivery from the lead vocalist. Then you get the catchy chorus, and that is it. There's no unique tone, there's no unique structures going on and kind of styles and some kind of new concept, something we haven't really heard before. This is very typical of a lot of very basic metal bands. The solo, on the other hand, is it's shred based, but it's done quite sweetly. It's nothing amazing, it's nothing grand, it's nothing overly special, it's just a well done shred solo. And that is it. It doesn't last overly too long, it's not overly short either. but it's nothing special. It's just a quick solo. He changes it up a bit so it doesn't get very formulaic and repetitive. Then it just leads back into the chorus. The verse, I will say, you get a fair bit of bass from, because the instruments keep kind of cutting out just for the tad few seconds. Then you get the kind of bass in the background, so the verse is very heavy bass sounding, while the rest of the guitars are cut out. But overall, it's basically the same as Firefight. It's not exactly the same, so people say, no, it's nothing alike. Yes, I know, Firefight has the chanting. This doesn't have chanting. The lyrics are different, obviously, but the entire flow and approach to the song is very, very, very similar to Firefight. That is the case, that is the facts. There is subtle differences. The lyrics are different. There's no kind of fight fire with fire chanting. But other than that, it's exactly the same, pretty much. So, putting a mark on this, Glamour of the Kill has been away for a while, and they've disbanded, but they've come back together, and I want them to be successful so they don't disband again. But having to be a critic, this is very formulaic of the last song, and I feel that if this is the way the album goes, it's going to be a very basic and pretty bland listen, because nothing's going to change it up. The odd 1-2 songs will be interesting enough because they are well done and everything, but there's nothing unique, there's nothing new, there's nothing special, there's nothing to keep your mind engaged, because after the 1-2 tracks, you're starting to just get the same thing over and over again, if this is the case. I'll say the bridge just changed it up after that second chorus. You get a melodic part. Don't know if Firefight had that, unfortunately. I can't say if it did or not. But if not, that is a difference. But it doesn't last too long. And again, it's quite similar to what bands also do. After that second chorus, they just kind of go melodic and then finish with a solo that leads back into the chorus. So if I'm reviewing this, it is above average. It's a catchy chorus. It is a fun chorus. The verse is nice and heavy. It's a song for you. So it's good like that, and the solo is sweet and shredding. But everything is basic, everything is formulaic, there's nothing new or unique about it. So yeah, it's above average. So above average would be a 6, because there is a good solo, the chorus is nice and catchy. I'll go with 6.5. It's not exactly good, because good would be just changing something up slightly, but this unfortunately doesn't. So it's going to be a 6.5. This is not looking good, really. But hopefully the album will have some nuances and some kind of changing aspects to it, because if it just carries on like this, the album is going to get a pretty bad score, I am going to tell you that. And I'm not going to go easy. I will be a critic, and I'll give it what it deserves. So, if that upsets you, then yeah, you don't have to watch me. But if you want my honest opinion, then you can come back and see me for the album review. But as far as this single goes, there's nothing unique or really great about it, and it's just a blatant copy of Firefight. So 6.5. So, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!